This week I'd like to give some reflections on my study of the Ilwonsang Vow. As always, these are just my reflections, the way I see the Ilwonsang Vow. I hope you understand that I don't know what I'm talking about. This is just the way I am digesting the vow and trying to use it in my life. I invite you to listen to what I have to say, and I hope it inspires you to read the vow and interpret it in your own way, so you can make it alive and active in your life. Having said that, here I go. So, as I was reviewing where we've been so far, we've talked about the first two stanzas. The first stanza is about the truth of the Dharmakaya Buddha, the truth of Ilwan, the truth about our universe. The second group of stanzas are how those truths play out in the world around us every day. The non-duality of permanence and impermanence, how our minds take in the world, that contact with the world becomes an impression of the world. We like it, we don't like it, it's neutral. We take those impressions and we create ideas about the world. We create stories about the world. In the process of doing that, we store up habits. We store up ideas and notions that divide the world into pieces, parts, create duality. The most important line, with grace arising from harm or harm from grace. I take this to be the crystallization of that process of taking something that is non-dual, both permanent and impermanent, putting my ideas on it, my notions on it, and creating duality. When I say something's good, that means there must be something else that's bad. And when I do that, I start to become attached to what I think is good, and I start to hate what I think is bad. I create behaviors to avoid the bad, to grasp the good. In doing that, I begin to do bad things in order to get what I want or to avoid what I don't want. I categorize places and people and things as good or bad or this way and that, and I no longer see the world for what it truly is. All I see is my idea of the world. I lose the truth and I pick up ignorance. The fifth head Dharma Seong has a book about transgressive karma that I love, because one of the things he says is karma is simply ignorance. If I remove ignorance, I remove my karma. So at that point, grace from harm, harm from grace, it's like a hero's story. Here's the setting, this is the world. These things happen to the hero, and the hero loses his way. It's a moment of crisis, a sea of suffering. What next? What next is, finally, the vow. Read along if you'd like. Therefore, modeling ourselves after Ilwonsang, the Dharmakaya Buddha, we unawakened beings vow to practice with utmost devotion to cultivate our minds and bodies perfectly, to know human affairs and universal principles perfectly, to use our minds and bodies perfectly, thus progressing rather than regressing and receiving grace rather than harm, until we attain the great power of Ilwan and become one with the nature of Ilwan. Those few lines are everything that's in this book, and I can't possibly begin to talk about everything that's in this book today. So I just want to cover a couple of things. The first thing I want to cover is just the basics. We're making a vow to do something. Don't forget, this is a vow to do. Not to be, not to learn, but to do something. We're cultivating our minds. When we have sensory conditions, we get disturbance. We cultivate our minds, we cultivate our spirit in order to remove the disturbances, to have a mind that is calm. We inquire into universal into human affairs and universal principles. That's easy for you to say. Because when we create that dualism, when we create that ignorance, we forget what the truth is: non-duality, unity. We remove ignorance with wisdom by cultivating inquiry. And then we use our minds and bodies perfectly. Mindful choice in karmic action is the official term. We usually just think about doing the right thing. But what that means is it's a culmination of the first two. In order to do well, in order to do good, we must have a quiet mind, so our internal wisdom will arise, so we have the right mind to have the right action. That's all we're talking about. Very simple. Remove the disturbances so your internal wisdom will arise, and the result will always be the right thing. So the three great powers, it's not some force field or some laser beam. It's very simple. The first great power is cultivation, having a mind that is free from disturbance, not attached to one thing, not rejecting another thing. It is the power of wisdom. You don't have to know every little thing about every situation, but you have to have that internal wisdom that comes from not grasping at ideas or thoughts, but simply seeing the world clearly in every moment. That's what brings an end to ignorance, an end to karma, and the end to transgressive behaviors. You stop doing harm to yourself, you stop doing harm to others, because you now have a clear view of the world. Free of detachment, free of disturbance, free of attachment. I don't know much, but this is what I do know. Two things I know. I had no understanding of what Buddhism was, no contact with it, until I was about 30-something years old. I grew up without religion at all. I knew nothing about nothing. But back in the olden days, we had these things called bookstores, and they sold coffee. And you could sit in the bookstore and buy a cup of coffee and read their books for free for hours. I don't know why they came up with that business model, but that's what they had, and I took full advantage of it when I didn't have any money. One day I picked up an orange book that was The Idiot's Guide to Buddhism. And I started reading it, and I was turning the pages, and I was seeing the basic Buddhist teachings, and I went, I knew that. I knew that. That's right, that's true. That's exactly the way things are. And I went, uh-oh, I think I'm a Buddhist. So I said, well, I better start practicing Buddhism. So here's what I did. I ended up getting all the books I could find on Buddhism and reading and studying and reading and studying and reading and studying. And I thought I was practicing Buddhism. For almost 20 years, I studied Buddhism and didn't practice it. Every once in a while, I do a little meditation, and I kind of get bored with that, and I do the, maybe I'd try meditating. No, that's boring. But I read and I read and I read and I read. I became very smart, but I didn't practice. And that's why this scripture reading, I think, is really important. Because I lived this. I spent all my time seeking external learning and external knowledge. The two things I now know after coming to the Won Buddhist Temple and studying here and then learning what studying was and what practice was. I got the opportunity to practice. I got an environment around me where it was encouraged to meditate every day, study in an organized way and tie it to something real. And things changed. My life began to change because I, without realizing it, began to practice. and stop trying to think my way into enlightenment. It was like going into a restaurant, starving in a restaurant, reading the menu and getting frustrated because you weren't getting full. I never ordered any food, I never ate any food, and I got frustrated because I was still hungry. So I'd go to a different restaurant and read their menu and say, how does this cooked? And now, what seasons are in that? Okay, thanks. Bye. It was just insane, but I didn't know that until I started eating. I said, oh, this feels great. I'm not hungry anymore. So that's the first thing I know. I had to stop reading the menu, and I had to start eating the food. And then I learned how to cook the food, so I could eat anytime I wanted to. I didn't even need a menu anymore. So if you learn anything from me, learn that you've got to start eating the food and learn to cook the food. Because that leads me to the second thing. The other problem with seeking external knowledge instead of seeking internal wisdom is you're missing the point. There's nothing out there that can help you. If the Buddha could have helped me when he was enlightened, we all would have been enlightened. We would have been born enlightened and stayed enlightened. So just because one person gets it doesn't help me at all. I have to do the work. I cannot become wise without inquiry. I cannot become calm and clear and alert without cultivation. I can't watch somebody else meditate. I got to do it. I can't depend on others to force me to do the right thing. I have to become wise and calm, so I will naturally do the right thing. So, as I study and as I meditate and as I practice, I am still struggling with this, but I'm working on it. It all goes in. What I'm doing is coming in. True wisdom comes from within. Outside you get data. Outside you get information. Outside you get knowledge. The only place wisdom can come is from inside, when you have the tools to uncover it. Now that's not to say I can do it all by myself. The third jewel is Sangha, and we need teachers. I would not have been able to make the inroads I have made without fellow practitioners and Kuminim and other masters to lean on. In my time here, I have received instruction, I have received examples to follow, I have been corrected, I have been scolded. Can't do it all on my own. I need people who are, more experienced than I. They can give me the benefit of their experience, but until I experience it for myself and deal with it for myself, nothing will happen. There are two things about this. One, it is very liberating. There's great freedom to know that I have all the tools. It says it in the first couple lines. The original nature of all people. We all have Ilwan in us. We are Ilwan. We just forget it. There's great power in understanding that I am perfect, I am complete, I am utterly impartial and selfless. I do not have to look outward. I do not have to believe society tells me, you're not good enough. Once you get this, then you'll be fine. I don't have to pay any attention to that anymore, because I know from experience that I have everything I need inside. to get anywhere I need to be. I have access to complete enlightenment in any moment, just because of being a human being. And just like there's harm from grace and grace from harm, since I have all those tools, all that power, all that freedom, if I'm not doing it, it's on me. I can't rely on others to motivate me. I can't blame others if I don't meditate, or if I allow myself to get out of control in my mind, if I allow myself to be disturbed, if I say that person is driving me crazy, if I blame that person for the way I feel. And that's not always pleasant. It causes me to have to be honest with myself and say, I'm doing this and it's all on me. I can't say it was my parents, because my parents learned from their parents as I learned from them. So at some point, I cannot continue to blame the external circumstances, the causes and conditions. I have to return inward and say, what am I going to do? And that's what the Ilwonsang Vow, the story of the hero, is. Here's the truth. Here's what's happened. This is where you are now. And then, what are you going to do? I'm going to remember my vow. I'm going to practice. Thank you for listening. Anybody have any questions, comments, or arguments that they would like to present?
I just want to say thank you. I so appreciate this talk so much, and you ring through my head all the time. Steve and I were just talking about it the other day. You once said, I like me some Brian. And we want to have that too, like that kind of inner wisdom and peacefulness within. And I really appreciate all of this. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And I agree. Everyone should love me some me. Within reason, of course. There's no reason not to love yourself, because you are perfect, complete, utterly impartial, and selfless when you have full power. Anybody else? Kevin.
Thank you for the talk. It's very insightful. It's interesting, a couple of different areas, especially in the beginning you talked about, and I thought about how it's an interesting balance to humble yourself. I think I saw a thing where they said, remember that the bird eats the ants, but then the bird died, the ants eat the bird.
Mm-hmm.
But they honestly that out with the ego. I'm not going to say where I'm going, but those thoughts popped up in my head when you're talking. I just going through those. So I'll have more questions maybe next week. Once I ruminate on it, but thank you for the talk.
Thank you. Something that when you said ego, that brings something to mind. I think about this all the time. There's so much impulse to go, how did I get into this mess? I'm ignorant. How did I get, I must be stupid to be ignorant. You cannot wake up until you fall asleep. It's not our fault that we get ignorance. It's what it is to be human. We have to operate in the world. It's not to say the world is true. The world is, they say the Buddha translated it as, it's all a dream, it's a bubble. In a sense it is when you're talking about what's going on inside your head. But the world is out there. You run into a tree, you've run into a tree. It's just not to make more of it than it is. The world exists, but not in the way you think it does. In the same way, your emotions and your reactions to the world exist. They are true. You just need to change your relationship to them. Stop letting them chase you around and grab you and shake you. Your emotions and your thoughts and your ideas will be put there in order to be a tool for you to use to deal with the world every day. We forget that we're supposed to be using those as a tool, and we become a tool of them. And that is all there is. That's all we're trying to do, is say, no, you don't own me. I own you. I control you. Now I can live the right way. It's really, really simple. It's almost impossible to do well moment to moment. Yeah? It's just a simple thing. I'm in charge. I love me some me. You're not going to do this to me anymore. All right? I think I've wasted enough of your time. Thank you.